All right, here we go. All right, we're going live now. Come on. It always takes a delay. There we go. Now we're live. So, uh, hello everyone. Back here with Mike Felker, and we're doing some of the 2006 bills. They're either passed or about to be passed, or they're
Yeah,
trying to pass.
2026.
Oh, what'd you say?
2026.
2026. Yeah.
Yeah, you said 2006. I'm just messing with
Oh, God. Yeah, 2026. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, slip of the tongue. And I'm kind of tired. I can't lie. Uh, but so where would you like to start?
Oh yeah, so like we were kind of talking earlier before we got live, but the Senate bill, the 243, that's I'm usually a Debbie Downer, so we could talk about something that's kind of somewhat positive. Was that Senate bill 243? It hasn't been passed yet, but it's the various tax matters. It's like it goes back to House Resolution 1, which was Trump's signature, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime thing. But I
Yeah.
do would like to know if they will tell you, because they didn't on the federal side. Not one federal member came back home to Indiana and said, "Hey, no tax on overtime for you people who work overtime. Is only on the premium portion of overtime." And this is the definition of premium portion. So it's only on the half portion, right?
Yeah.
So if you're making $20 an hour, and then you're working Saturday on time and a half, and you're making 30, you're only not getting taxed on the $10 of it.
Okay.
So
I
that
gotcha.
$10. So you get no taxes on $10 per
Oh,
hour. But
so much
yeah,
lawyer
thank
stuff.
thank you. They're so generous. But they're only gonna it has passed it went through committee, went through the Senate, now it's sitting in the House. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. I'm surprised because it had an overwhelming support. It was 47 to not one on the Senate side, and
Well,
apparently sitting in the House, and they're gonna do the math or see if the state can afford to do it.
what?
So
How much? Uh, how much do you think it would save Hoosiers? Do you think it's an effective measure? To
it'd
kind
be
of.
well for I don't know. I work overtime, so I don't know, and it's good for tips. People who get work on tips too, because it's kind of, isn't that funny how they do that? So no tax on tips means no tax on tips,
Yeah.
and it is capped. I forget what it's capped at, 25 grand or something like that, or I forget what the 12,500 for overtime. It's capped. I mean, you'll never make that. You got to be making like 80, $90 an hour.
Yeah.
But state, if you work overtime, it'll probably be, depending on how much you work, it'll probably be a better chunk versus the state income tax
But
because,
when strippers get dollars, is that considered tips?
yeah,
So they actually the bill will really benefit those of the poll.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
25,000. I mean, they might see that
It says
cap.
deductible workers and tips. It did not say you know, the hospitality industry, but yeah,
But
I guess we get the
yeah,
point.
yeah, I just thought about it. Like that's like they're one
But
of the ones. The waiter. I mean, they make a lot of their money off of tips as well. So, but
yeah,
yeah, that industry will probably thrive from.
yeah. Can you imagine federal and state tips? That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that is. But it shouldn't be there in the first. Like,
Right.
yeah, it shouldn't be there. I know I say that everyone feels that, but like not everyone feels that way. There's actually a lot of people who feel like you have to that we have
Pay
to
for
do
your
these
earnings.
taxes in order to fund the government or whatever. But like what people don't think about is you're actually like you're trading. It's a trade off. So you're giving money to the government to spend however they pretty much feel like. But like that trade off of how you feel when you get your check and all that stuff or and everything else bills all the other taxes and stuff they take you pay. Pretty soon the toll roads and stuff, your gas tax, like when you feel there and you're like, oh man, I don't have any money and all this stuff. Like that's the trade off is that you personally lose money and you're sacrificing your wealth because you're giving up your responsibility. Uh, Responsibility makes money and I mean it'll take money when you give it away. Like other people, they take the responsibility, but then you got to pay them for having that responsibility. So freedom, uh, you know, uh, a free person keeps all his earnings and is able to earn their land, whereas you could say like indentured, maybe, um, is pretty much what the majority of the United States is. I mean, not tech, but like if you were to compare it, where we work and then we have to like money that no one else, the government wasn't there sitting at your job or, stamping out those whatevers or uh, digging that hole, pouring the concrete. They weren't there, and yet they still get that money for your time being there. So, like, you're pretty
Yeah,
much an
well,
indentured servant.
yeah. It's like you think about it. If you go back in time before the income tax was invented, I'm like, your you ha- uh, your money was property, right? And you weren't taxed on property. I mean, it's just odd how
Yeah.
that's not what the framers intended, but yet people. And I always blame the World War II generation because when we got home, that's when all this stuff happened, and
Yeah.
we had to pay for the big government to protect us. But we didn't have the income tax, we didn't have property taxes, and now we do. And
Well, World
because it
War
wasn't
One, too. Like it's a like the dumbing down of Americans it is subversion from like I mean we had progressives with then communists then like when you study history you find out that like the government has done a great job at uh, when it wants to secure some more power or do something, especially when it comes to the president wanting to be able to have more power. um, like they're good at convincing people to give it up, um, and they offer you benefits that sound good at the time, but they don't like
right.
you're selling your soul. Like yeah,
And we're good at re-electing the people that are doing that to us.
yep,
That's the crazy part. There's a guy I was talking to the other day. I was like, yeah, he's complaining about some of the stuff that the Trump policies and stuff that because he's normally isn't for stuff, but now he's kind of he goes off on some tangent, and next thing you know, he's doing something that he didn't really campaign on. He campaigned against, but yeah, he's doing it, and
yeah,
it, he ends up alienating his base, but the base forgets. We you know
yeah.
we forget
That's
these things, and then we're like, well, it was just that one thing, and then we'll vote for it, or we'll the red line is that uh, we don't remember it, and then we don't vote in primaries.
well,
So when there is somebody, say like in the state government that does something, or federal government, whatever it is that we don't like, and then somebody challenges them, but we still vote for that same person that did it to us because we don't vote. We don't show up in
well.
primaries. And,
Everyone likes to say that the Republicans are spineless, but the Republicans, if your representation is spineless, it's only spineless because those who voted for them have been spineless. Often I find Republicans talk a good game, but when it comes down to actually holding people accountable, like even so, like if you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it. But then when people who do know how to do it and they point stuff out, and you know, then you criticize them for criticizing the party that that you complain about at the same time. Like no, no, no. Like you got to be consistent. Like uh, I, I'm just being honest. Like this isn't Mike's view. This is my view. I believe most Republican voters are spineless with a good would talk. It's the same thing. Like if you're in a militia, like I used to be in a militia, and like this is before COVID, and they used to talk about when when the government becomes oppressive and they start violating the Constitution, and then yada yada, and then COVID hit and there was like silence. Then when Donald Trump during his first term was talking about like, I'm not saying that they should have did anything. It's just that they like, it's like being a part of a group for that. That they talk all this stuff and they they go and they camp. Like they like to talk about it, right? But they don't actually do anything about it. Like when it comes to voting or like anything. So
Well,
like,
that's how politicians are too.
yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Like
There's
the
no remedy.
representation really represents the base or who's voting for them. So which sounds bad, but it's the truth. It's one of them things. Like if your representative is a snake, I mean, but he gets in every year. Like it's I mean,
Everybody wants change while staying comfortable.
yeah.
That's an all time
But
quote. Yeah,
freedom is about being uncomfortable. Always. That you have to
right.
do the things yourself. Like I'm fine with patching the road myself, but I'm not fine with patching the road myself when I pay the city to do it. Just like the sidewalks. We have that ordinance where it's like $2,500 if you don't shovel your sidewalk by a certain time after it snows. But like a lot of these sidewalks, people didn't want, and the city put in, right? And then they're saying, well, now you have to shovel it. But I'm like, but we pay you guys to take care of the roads already, and we paid you for the sidewalk that we didn't. A lot of people don't want, whether you want it or not, right? Like it's yeah, like it's like that's what I mean. Like freedom, you're gonna do more yourselves, and hopefully you're in a good community or like because if you live in the city, you're in a community. It's not gonna you don't have really have a choice, but yeah, you're gonna take care of your own roads, at least for like your however you do it, like the sections or whatever. But um, yeah, but as soon as you give that out, like again, you're gonna be paying for it. You pay for the road, you pay
Hmm.
for the sidewalk, and then they force you to maintain the sidewalk anyway. So sorry, I got off. I
No, you're
just
good.
yeah,
Yeah. Hey, have you heard about the 1333, the House bill? It's that one. Allows developers to conduct large construction projects like data centers or solar or whatever
yeah.
farms and stuff.
Actually, I
Like
just read an
they take it
article.
out, they take it out of the hands of the. They're like, hey, that soil over there you know, isn't good for agriculture. So you don't have a say, public or county or city, what goes in there, and we don't want you to have a say or a public hearing or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah,
and the guy who wrote the bill was on the. I read yesterday. His name is it Kendall Culp? Yes, Representative Kendall Culp. He's one of the authors of the bill. He's like, yeah, that wasn't the verbiage that I put in there, and I'm like, so you authored the bill, and somebody changed the verbiage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and he never talked about once who changed it. I mean, was it the somebody from the Means and Ways Committee, or
yeah,
was it somebody a member of leadership? I mean, so he's like saying that he doesn't like the way it's written, but he's the one supposedly who wrote it. Yeah, right. And
yeah,
we're supposed to believe I mean, I'm like, so now what's happening here is you don't read your own bills or you don't write your own bills, which is what you just basically said. And then you don't, but, and then what cracks you up is it made it through the Senate. You know what I mean? It made it through committee and everything. I mean, so
I don't know.
everybody was on board with it until it got to the House and everybody complained about it. Like, people like me were like, oh my God, are you reading this? And it was all over, thankfully, social media.
Yeah,
And so people were, and then he's like, "Well, I didn't realize. I mean, like, dude, you should have said something. What do you mean it's not your
uh,
bill that you as you wrote it?"
yeah. Like I read so I actually meant to. I've read it. Like I read like articles and stuff. I actually mean to send them to you and ask you a question. But yeah, I just read that probably like either yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. But like yeah, I thought that was funny because now they don't have to have the debate with us. They can just
Right.
go ahead. You could build there, and so that like, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to avoid having the conversation because if they're look, I would guess they have to be benefiting something because if they're so ardent to put it in, there's something they're getting from it, right? Because it's not necessarily benefiting Hoosiers. Because they always promise these jobs, and then it goes in, and then they don't materialize like they say. Specifically, like the data centers and stuff, right? Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so I don't know. Like I look at that and I'm like, man, they're just like at every turn. What I see is whether it's Democrat or Republican, when they figure out something is tough, and that there's actually a debate to be had about it, they find ways to automate it and bypass the people because they don't want to hear the voice. And then they go out here and they talk about we the people, like um, I I'm
I
kind of
know.
over the system. Like it's a game and they play it, and there's no winning it as long as you stay in the system. Or you go like there's no change. So yeah,
Yeah, I just honestly want to know because he said that on the Who's Your Ag uh, article that I read that he didn't like that somebody changed it, but then he doesn't tell you, or the guy who's interviewing him doesn't say, well, who changed your bill and who's the source that changed the verbiage of it to
yeah.
say this, and I'm like, is he lying, or you know what I mean?
It's
Did he?
probably someone
We,
from
we
the
just
data
wanted
center
it to go
or
through that way. Yeah, and
that
they,
has
I
to do
mean,
with the data center had the. He's like, well, you probably get. I can't say you can't
yeah,
say he's
I
getting,
know.
but
And then the Senate voted on it, and you know what I mean? I'm like, this is,
ah,
you can't make this crap up, right? And it's like, that when they wrote this, and then they have to have three readings. So like somebody had to, I mean, did you all not, I mean, yeah, we're going down to the House and we're voting, or the Senate, we're voting on this. So they had to have read it,
yeah,
and then they voted to pass it before it went to the House. I'm just like, I'm calling BS,
yeah. They
and
just
then gonna backtrack my statement, on because I don't want to look like an idiot,
yeah,
or
and you
piss
can
anybody off.
government sites. So like, this is like government sites and party sites are so boring, and uh, there's so many bills and stuff. Like there's a way to do this. So like if you really wanted your base informed and stuff like that, there's a way to set up your party and inform people and make it so it's really easy for them to follow the bills that your party's passing, bills that you're worried about because if you're in the party system it's all it's them against us, right? And so like it, we live in 2026. Like, if you can't get people to easily keep up with the bill, like most people keep up with the bills through like Wayne, you know what I mean, or like when Wayne or one of the news
Right,
outlets, then people start
right.
because then it becomes noticeable. But and don't get me wrong, I've checked the government sites sometimes, but it's not always easy to navigate the. I mean, it is and it's not if you're not used to it. Like it takes some time, and I'm not saying that you don't have a responsibility to learn, but like if you could make it as easy as like you log on to an app, and then the recent ones or relevant ones are on there. You could just click like that. Like and that might even be a thing already. Like I'm not. But it's not like out there, you know what I mean? Where everybody knows. Like if I was the state and I really wanted my people to be informed, like I would push it like I push all the other stuff, like um, like we're pushing affordable housing right now, like that's how I would push it. But as a party too, like um, being able to set it up as like
I don't even know how you could keep up with all of it. I
you
just did a quick search. There's like 420 some bills that the House has introduced. Just it's February, like what is this? February 7th, and then you've got another 290 on the Senate side. So
yeah,
like
that's
700
crazy.
bills. I'm like, really? Like
That's
there's
yeah,
that much stuff going on that we need to do. I mean, I know some of them are dumb. Like there's this one that they've, like to make corrections and errors and misspellings and stuff on bills that they've had in the past. But I'm like, how do you keep up with 700 bills and it's only February 7th? And the legislative session started in January.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues too on the federal level as well. Is like even when there's so many things, but that when you do get bills, they're like 1,000 pages long, 500 pages long. Like none of this, and then they couple things together. Like everything, every bill, every issue should have to be passed on its own, right? And then like it should be
Yep,
simple.
standalone. Yep.
Yeah, like
Yeah, hey, I was wrong on that House Bill 1333. It passed the House, not the Senate. So the House, which is makes sense because that Kendall Culp, that's where he's from. He's in the House.
yeah,
So, but again, they all read it. It went to the floor. They passed it. It went to the Senate, and by the time it got to the Senate, that's when the public were like, "Whoa, what is going on with this?" You
yeah.
know.
Uh, oh, man, like yeah, I just So anything, any other lists on your list?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
I've got a couple here. I'm just kind of. I have a binder, so this is how I try to keep tabs of it because it's so out of control. You know.
Yeah.
Um, the one that I laughed at was Senate Bill 27. Did you get that one? Remember that? That's the Chicago. I think we might have talked about it last week about the Chicago Bears thing. So the
Oh
Bears are
yeah, yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we pay for everything. I mean, I mean, we're just made of money in Indiana. I'm just like, and the governor, he's the one who said, "Hey, get it done. Let's get this done." And so,
Yeah. Is it
I'm not saying I don't like Mike Brown. It's
was
not
it
that I
the
don't like
Bears or
him
is
or
it the
what.
Colts?
The Bears.
The Bears?
So yeah, the
We
Bears are looking because they're having problems hashing out a deal to stay in Illinois
so
because
they're gonna
Illinois wants more. They want Illinois wants a lot more money, so they're like I mean, they're not getting their tax breaks and all the incentives that they want, and so our legislators, Ryan Mishler, he's the one who authored the bill. It passed through committee. I'm gonna say 3 weeks ago, and so we're gonna. It's hilarious. We're going to lease a building to the Bears for 35 years, dude. 35 years. So we're gonna build all the off road, all the stuff. You know what I mean? It's gonna be up in it's gonna be west of me, of western part of Indiana.
yeah.
And so we're gonna. Now the Bears did say that they would build the stadium, that they would pay for the stadium. But we're saying the way I read it was that no, we'll build the stadium. You'll lease it from us for 35 years. It's going to guarantee 35-year lease. We'll maintain the building and we'll keep it, make sure it's not destroyed or whatever. We'll fix it and repair it. We'll lease it to them, and then they'll not pay any property taxes for 35 years.
Wait,
Wow, where can I get that deal?
is that
So, and
constitutional?
then at the end of the 35-year lease, if they want it, we'll sell it to the Bears for $1, providing they meet
Is that
the
constitute like us spending money for private?
yeah, a private partnership. Yay! We do that all the time. Hey, public money for private use. Oh, wait a minute, that's unconstitutional.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm pretty sure that's unconstitutional. Like that doesn't
But
make I'm
dude,
like
tell me about it. Senate Bill 27, SB 27. You're gonna have to read
well,
Ryan Mishler, who's just
if that is
he's not my rep,
unconstitutional,
but yeah.
then like you know how many other things like on both the state or the city, county, and state level one like so if you watch I know whenever you get time you're able to watch one of those the Agenda 21 uh videos, which is not a hoax now. Like everyone knows it's not a hoax. You can go on YouTube and see that the UN has some whole like videos on their Agenda 21 project. You can trace the paperwork from when it started to now. Like it's not called Agenda 21 anymore. That's just how it started, and now it's called like 3030. It's got all these different names that are a part of it, but a lot of that is basically public-private partnerships, which is fascism. Like in like so when I use these words, because in America, like right now, they have a certain like when you say fascism, people think, oh, they're gas chambers. Like But that's not what fascism is. It actually is an economic system as well. So and like in the gas chambers, like just because one nation, fascist nation, did it, doesn't mean that they all did it, right? Like you can actually go and look. Like Spain has a sketchy past, but at the same time, and then you can see Mussolini didn't really want to do it. Like that's not really what fascism is. It's the socialist idea of fascism, and so like a public-private partnership is where like government funds it, right? And but it's still publicly owned. But the private business does what the government basically the government controls the private business through, and you'll
Yeah.
see that like a lot of these partnerships that the through different ways the government owns parts of these companies, um, or has invested in large parts of these companies. Uh, but yeah, it's basically fascism, and um, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm looking for a book. There was a Henry Ford said something about private partnerships, and like to be wary of it. And I mean,
Well, he's one
I
to
always
talk
go
because he
back.
funded the Nazi Party. Him and Hitler were good friends, just like one of the Bushes. I think like their
Oh, what was that?
grandpa or something.
Who?
George Bush's one of the Bushes. He was I forget. He actually got I think he got removed from office or charged. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But I know that he got in trouble because he was helping the Nazis as well. But Ford
Oh,
sent Hitler money, uh, and like I think like almost every year, and he provided the trucks, and then he sued the U.S. government. Well, again, like if I remember right, I'm not saying this is a fact, but I'm pretty sure it is because I checked it. But it's been a while. Like it's been like a year since I looked into it, right? So I'm not gonna say for sure, but it he sued the U.S. government to recuperate the cost of his destroyed property in Germany. So um, but I know Ford was a big supporter of the Nazis um, in history,
oh,
and
oh, that is odd. I did not know that. I've never heard that before.
oh yeah, and then there's a Bush too that was got caught. But like, not fascism was actually pretty popular in the United States before the World War II. Like when Hitler was rising to power, there's actually like we had marches and stuff like that all through the United States. All the magazines and stuff were like posting him like he was like the hottest thing since sliced butter, and like it's but we are a fascist government, like so like we participate in socialism right now. Our banking system is essentially so like fractional, was it fractional reserve banking, but I forget how basically the companies and stuff, their losses are socialized and they get to keep their earnings, right? Like that's a socialist uh like the United States is not a completely free. Like we are definitely.
Well, yeah, look at a lot of the people that are representing us in the Democrat Party, man. Like all the whack job stuff that they're wanting to do.
Well, I mean, even the Republican Party though too. Like it does.
Sure.
Like
Yeah,
party lines don't
yeah,
really matter. They're both
right.
getting money
Well,
from the same people.
correct. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if people just would look and see where these campaign money is coming from, and who's funding what, and why the people say what they say, and do what they do, and it's a lot of it
Were
is.
you at the
Well, what was I thinking the
um?
other day?
What's his He was I think he was Attorney General or something like that.
Rokita, ours.
No, what did you say? The black guy. He was running for governor, I think, or he wanted to, or something like that. He's trying to run
Oh
for
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I really liked him too. Good gosh, I can't believe I can't think of his name. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was our attorney general for a while.
yeah.
I want-
Man, I can't think of his. I took a like were you at that dinner?
which one?
Townsend. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, so like he said, like when he was talking, and this is I don't know why this stuck out to me, but he was like, uh, the taxpayers don't really choose, the politics. Like he's like, there's five major families, rich families in Indiana that actually choose or fund everything. So he said something to that effect, and that like stuck out to me, and I was like, huh. But being that I don't, uh, it's not my strong suit, and I don't really have the following. I'm not gonna go stick. Not at the right time to go poking my nose around just yet. Because
Yeah.
even if you knew something, it's you gotta have the means by which to bring it to light. So in an efficient manner. Otherwise, it's much easier to be silenced. But
I figured it out. It was Curtis Hill, right? And
yes,
that's who we're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah, I really liked him too. I
Yeah.
like Jamie Rittenhour more, but yeah,
I he was okay, but he's not a 2A person. Like he doesn't shoot guns. His record is kind of like
speaking of
oh,
speaking of two A's, there's a bill. It hasn't gone out of committee. I forget what it's called. There's one that the Democrats are trying to pass. Like if you're in a state
Park.
park or something, did you see that crap?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just like, oh yeah, we gotta keep the evil 2A guns out of our parks. Make them a no gun free zones.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't like if I'm out there, like there's still wildlife and stuff. Like, but like if I'm
or
carrying out in the woods, like who cares?
or somebody else is out there who you never know. You know what I mean? Well, sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, can you wait a minute? I gotta go to my car and get my gun before you kill me or attack me.
uh, yeah, I got a sprint.
Yeah, yeah. I got some bear spray here.
Oh, I actually had an incident
The stupid insanity, dude. I tell
where a
you.
dude had to, like, we had some people with guns show up at the site and caught someone off guard, and they had to, didn't have their gun on them. They had to run back to their car because that's. I'm like, man, that's a bad place for it,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Like, but yeah, yeah. Well, that's one of the things is like I deal with a lot of like in the job that I work. You wouldn't think it. Like I didn't think it when I started, but I deal with a lot of violence and different things, and like it actually made me more appreciate the 2A more and not less. And it's like the issues are cultural, not uh, it's not the gun, and there's a lot
Right.
of
Yeah.
that's a whole thing, but that's a whole different thing, anyways.
Yeah,
But
I always say you can't see it because I got that backdrop, but there's a meme I've got on my phone that says, my teacher said my guns kill people, and the kid's holding up a pencil and said my pencil failed my math exam. You know,
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, okay. I
uh,
mean, but that's how they think. It's like how
yeah,
stupid. Stop blaming guns, and then you got those people who say that we should be able to sue the gun manufacturers, right? I'm like, well, if that's the case, then what about the governments who are, like, did you hear about the four people who died in the van, the Amish people? There was a illegal who was issued a CDL in Pennsylvania, and he killed those people in Jay County here in Indiana.
yeah,
Because he shouldn't have had a CDL
yeah.
apparently. I'm like, what is the deal there? I'm just like,
Well, you don't even gotta. That is
but we
like,
can't sue the,
what
but we
about when
can't sue
Obama
the,
was trafficking guns? It's not just
yeah,
under Obama. Like the government
right,
is one of the biggest trafficker of guns um, around the world into places that should not have them,
right.
and
Well, that's why I was,
illegally. Like,
yep,
so I'm like,
yeah. What was that called? Operation something. I forget what that was because it was under the Attorney General. I forget what his name is now. I could
I,
see it, but I remember, it was what, then they lost track of the guns. Remember that?
yeah,
And then they couldn't find them, and they're like, "Oh no, we just gave a bunch of terrorists or whatever, drug traffickers guns, and now we don't know where they
Fast
are."
and Furious.
Yeah, Fast and Furious. That's what it was. And I
Yeah,
forget who the Attorney General was back then.
and then actually, one of our border agents got killed with those guns. One of those
Yeah,
guns. Yeah, like it's
nothing,
funny.
nothing to see here, guys. Just
Yeah,
it's you're free.
but
I
with
know,
these
just
bills, people need to keep in mind that you don't. It's not the Democrats. It's not the Republicans. It's both. Until you realize that you have to hold both parties accountable, you can't just like people like
well,
to scapegoat the Democrats, but until you wake up and you're like, oh well, no, I need to hold my because it doesn't pass without Republican votes. Like we're in a Republican state, so um, if you if you want to pass something, you got to have some Republicans, and a lot of the bills and stuff that we're seeing that are dumb, like or that's costing us, are passed by Republicans right now. I mean, it'd be
right, because
different
we
if
have
we were
that.
in Illinois. Like,
Yeah, we got that super majority, and we could. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are so many opportunities that we could have to make our state better for the people, But
yeah,
we're so focused. What's happening is, and it's just everybody's busy. They're just too focused on what they're doing, and they're not focused on what their representatives are doing. And they're out there giving all these freebies to corporations. And they're like, well, corporations are paying, looking, they're hiring the people to do the jobs. I'm like, if you take care of the public, which is what the United States Constitution says, every state constitution says, and then corporations will be protected and taken care of. I mean, they'll flourish. That's I'm just it's not that complicated,
yeah.
but we just don't have a
And not only
enough.
just that, we'll have local corporations. Like instead of just bringing
Mm,
in all these other corporations, the other fast food restaurant and from other places, like
right,
like instead of trying to bring stuff here, let's make the ground fertile for Hoosiers so they can
right.
make money, and other states want to bring our stuff there instead of just bringing a bunch of box stores here and undermining, you know, our people.
Yep.
It, it it's crazy. It upsets me. I see these. But one thing my dad said one time is during one of the presidential elections is they were talking about the middle. They always talk about the middle class, and then he looked at me and he goes like, they're not even talking about the majority of us. They're only talking like. Cause I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I think we're middle class, aren't we? And he's like, no. Like if you make like, and I looked at what middle class was. It's like between I think it's like 200,000 or 300,000 and 400,000.
It is. Oh, we pour in my house.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, they're not even. He's like, he's right. They're not even talking about us at all. Um, which is, I mean, it's crazy when you actually start listening to what they say, and like, especially if it's a party, your part. If you take off the party blinders, or or whatever, and you just start listening to what both sides, like just the whole thing. Like most of the time, they're not even talking about you, and when they're talking about you, so like if they talk about someone, it's either they're really poor, trying to give them benefits, right, and then taxing. I say the people who really work, because there's a lot of people who really work, but it's like 30 and under, and you get a good like return and stuff like that. But like once you get up above 100,000 or you start getting up there, like that's when like taxes and stuff really start to kick in. Like you really start to see them come after you after that, and you either have to be really good at avoiding, you have to really know the laws and stuff to get around that stuff, um,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, you're going to be paying out your butt. You're like that's, yeah. I think that's one of the things that eliminates a lot of people too. Is like you got to know that stuff before you get there. So, um, it's yeah, the system is rigged. Yeah, and if you actually work and you try to play by the rules, you're gonna get screwed. Which many of us are. So,
Well, it's like you said, it's gotten so much worse over the years too, and that's why I always see constantly. Like right now, the big thing is for me, you see up here where I live is NIPSCO, Northern Indiana Public Service Company Corporation or whatever it's called, and so their rates just keep going up. But it was all has to do with that daggone bill that they passed last year for uh, those small nuclear reactors or whatever,
yeah,
and to be able to build those and take that money and say they're going to build four of them, and they only build two, but they build you and me for four of them, and they still get to keep the money, and that's how the bill's written.
That sounds
And
like
everybody's like, well,
robbery.
I know, why is my electric bill going up? And I'm like, dude, because the people that we're electing are banking on you not reading these bills, and then when you complain, like, so the I don't even, I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but they passed that bill last year in the 25 legislative session. So now they're looking to pass one in the 26 to make it look good, or I don't know what it is,
We'll
to
see.
say, hey,
Okay.
what I mean? To
Yeah.
counter that one, to
Well.
basically saying, hey, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what they do. Like they'll pass something, and because what they know they're like, or at least they're trying to do damage control. But what they do is they pass something, and then they go, oh well, why? Because they know most people don't even know it's that bill is the reason why they're able to do that, right? They just know their bills are going up. And so then the Republicans can go, not
Right.
even just for, it does, just depending on your state or whatever. It really is whoever's in power. If you really think that if Democrats took over, it'd be cheaper, then you're dreaming. Um,
Right. Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. It'd be probably worse, but yeah.
yeah, and then they go, oh well, we're gonna do a committee, and we'll figure this out. And then they pass a bill that doesn't really fix it, and if it does fix it, it doesn't fix it for like years. You gotta wait years for this.
Right.
And then it's just like
Yeah.
anytime they have in the federal government where they have they're like, oh, we'll have a congressional hearing on it, and then they have the little in the committees and they ask questions, and then after that it's like, oh, we really gave them a good talking to the and then they go like, okay, so apparently if you violate the
Right.
law at that level, there's no consequences other than a
Right.
lecture.
Yeah, who's been big right now, and it's because he's probably up for reelection. Is that Josh Hawley for the Republican Party? He's in the federal government, and man, he's been up there on these committees, and he's a very smooth talker, very eloquent, smart, and he takes these. Like, it cracks me up because it really ticks me off because they give these leftists, these whack jobs, all these freaking, hey, we're going to give you a platform, we're going to bring you in front of the halls of Congress or the Senate or wherever, and you're going to get to sit here and talk about whatever it is that you believe, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to rebuttal you and make you look stupid. But I'm like, you ever notice they never have a regular person like you or me or whoever on there, who says, hey, look, you know what, you want to know what's going on in Main Street? Let me tell you what you're doing that's affecting my life and how it's impacting it in a negative light instead of a positive light. I mean, you can sit here and say, oh, you know, jobs are up, what do they always say, that money's up or whatever, your raises, pay,
Yeah.
people are getting more money, blah blah blah. It's like, what are you talking about? You're full of it. You're not. You're you know
It's
maybe at the federal level, come to the state level too, and then it gets compounded. It gets even worse. I might get a little tax break at the federal government, but then the state gobbles it up.
yeah.
Or whatever gobbles it up. The grocery store, because their usage for their utilities went up, so they just passed that
Yeah.
raise onto the consumer. But the Indiana House Bill 1002 is that electric utility affordability bill, and that's the one that they're kind of basically countering the 2024 or 5 bill for the reactors, the small mobile reactors, whatever that they're using for those
Yeah.
um, data centers and stuff. But it cracks me up because now people are like, yeah, they're gonna fix this now. And the whole bill, if you read it again, is all it is saying is, they're not gonna let the utility companies raise your rates more than twice a year. And I'm like, well, they're not. You're letting them raise them.
I
You know,
well, that's
the authority comes from the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. It doesn't come from NIPSCO.
yeah.
You know,
And the Demo. So I'm like they're pretty much handing. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit uh, about like how like now the Democrats are running on. Oh well, like now we're gonna have we
oh
have
yeah,
to help lower your
yeah,
bills and stuff. And I'm like the Republican Party are basically setting themselves up to fail. Um, that like we really could see a shift because most people become conservative because of financial, um, I mean, influences and issues and stuff like that. When they really have to when they have to start paying for themselves, they get out of college and they got to start working, and then they see how the government takes money and all this stuff, the bills, and then they're like, oh well, that a lot of times that turns people more conservative. Now I'm not talking about necessarily like Republicans, but just leaning that way where they'll vote for those issues. They may not be Republican, but they'll vote for to be able to keep more of their money or to lower the bills. And so
Right.
you
And
could
you
they
would
could easily swing. Um, I mean, we could see the next time around. I think we could see I hate to say it, but a Democrat governor.
governor.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I'm running, for delegate, and so the cutoff was yesterday at noon for the people who wanted to file. But man, I tell you what, I think there's more Democrats running for political office. You know what I mean? You might have, you know, say 60 delegates, more Democrats running than you do Republicans. I mean, there is a lot. If there's a spreadsheet, if you just go through the Indiana.gov website and you look under the elections and then you look under the primaries for the 2026 election, and man, I tell you what, the first three quarters of the names that are running for public office are Democrats. And I'm like, holy cow, there's a
Well,
lot more than we think there are in Indiana. And that's what I'm trying to
well, it's
express to a lot
because
of
it's a
Republican
difference.
voters.
Like
Huh?
as a Republican, you're taught you go, you work, you do this or that, right? Provide for your family, right? Whereas when you're in school, like most of the schools lean left, um, in the way that they teach. So you're like the schools teach people to be political activists. So then, of course, and then when you go to college, the same thing. So and then when you get out and you're indoctrinated with this stuff, and you run for office, you run for the like Democrat thing, and like yeah, so like they're training people to be politicians basically, or to be involved, whereas the Republican Party doesn't like um it yeah. So like the work that the Democrats have, like the subversion, they've been subverting Indiana for a long time. And like progressive, like throughout history, they have always been, which progressives originally started in the Republican Party, by the way, but um, they have always been long sighted. Like they look in the future. The things they do is not for like they know they don't have it now, but if we get the school system, 15 years from now, it'll be ours. Like like
Right.
they
Yeah.
work in long term, whereas the Republican Party works in spurts. Because when people finally wake up and they're like, oh, this is, and then they're like, oh, vote Republican, and then uh, the Republicans have power and like they fumble it.
They squander it.
Yep.
Well,
So
there's just not their drive isn't there. But again, the people that were elected don't know the Constitution. I mean, they might say they do, but I bet you any candidate I could ask right now and ask them how many articles are in the Indiana State Constitution, they can't tell you it's 16. You know,
yeah.
so but I remember so my kids were it was the governor's race, and it was for the Republican Party, and the I think yeah it was both. And I remember my kid was playing basketball, and there were some teachers up there on the bleachers, and I said, hey, you don't have to answer this, I've just got a quick question for you, like, who you looking at as far as the governor for Indiana? And they're like, oh, Jennifer McCormick. And I'm like, really? Why? I mean, if you don't mind me asking why. And they're like, oh, because that's what um
Union.
they were told, that's what the teachers union told them to vote
Hmm.
for. And I'm like, what about like taxes and like liberty and following the Constitution and abortion issues and all that kind of stuff? And they're like, oh, we just care about education. We just want to, she was the better for the education. And I'm like, so they were single issues that they cared about. And I'm like, well, what about the big picture? What about all the issues? And it just I can't believe
Well,
that
I mean,
these
education
are
is
educated people too. What I mean? These went to college. They're intelligent. They're living in a conservative county, and
being indoctrinated and being like intelligent.
yeah,
Like some of the smartest people are the easiest people to indoctrinate. Like, um, and I mean into control, because I found it like a lot of like, and I'm not even just talking about like a lot of the teachers, they're just regular people who are indoctrinated. Either way, like I'm not just, this isn't just left, but when you get to like high IQ people, like trust with the government often is uh, high. Like they just assume logically that the government is doing what's best for the people, and
Right.
that's what I've been finding. Like I've talked to a lot of really smart people, and they just like they just like, why would the government do anything wrong? Like, why would they do this or that? And it's like,
Yeah, I know
huh?
Jennifer, like she always, more spending on education, which means more taxes, which like I don't know how people don't understand that. And then, people want raises, right? So they're like, oh yeah, hey, vote for me and I'll get teachers a raise. And so, I mean, people
But
vote based on their pocketbook too, when it comes to
yeah,
that kind of stuff. So,
well, you gotta look at like, people are robots. The majority of people are robots. Like, I mean, I mean, just in general. Like,
I know.
I was a robot. Like, in some cases, I still am. We all have
This
yeah.
guy right here.
So,
Yeah.
like, you got to break programming. And so like when you're like taxes and stuff, like they're not like, they're like, taxes to them means more programs for the poor, all this stuff, and they think that it works, right? And like and then education, um, even though like, scores are have historically been dropping education, even in Democrat states especially, right? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't
Mhm.
it's not um it's not a it doesn't matter what actually works. What matters is what the party in your programming is, and that's why, like, as you leave it, people get so mad at you, and and then like, if you ever notice that when you say something, so like if you're in a group that's majority Republican or whatever, and you criticize a Republican for doing something that goes against what Republicans have, historically said, right? Um, and then they're like, "Well, you sound like a leftist." And I'm like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm advocating for less taxes. How is that? That doesn't make any
Right.
sense." And then, like, their only comeback is, "You're a leftist," which, like, I like to use. I flip it on them, and I'm like, "Oh, well, what's his the Democrats were going for that last year, like, or so and so did this last year," and especially if you can look and see that because so many Republicans will come out against something, and then when it's their party that does it, all of a sudden they defend it, and it's like, oh well, I can show you where you were defending this last year, or
Right.
against this last year, and now this year. But it's just programming, and for majority of people, it's Democrat, Republican, um, more taxes for the poor, less taxes because it's costing me. But like, you can't assume that they see the world the same as you do. Um, but you can almost reliably, depending on which way they vote, you know their mind. You can read people's mind by the way. Um, so if they're Democrat, like, half the time you can tell like 95% of what they think on issues. It's all
Yeah, because I
programming.
remember when I was running for Congress, we would go to these breakfasts, and I probably mentioned this before, and they'd always have a senator or representative from the state house coming in, and they would be always talking about what great things they're doing and how they're saving Hoosiers money. And I'm like, wait, I'm like, I go home, and I'm like, wait a minute, man, like gasoline tax just went up, utilities are going up. They haven't lowered the income tax.
Yeah,
My property taxes are through the roof. I'm like, what is this guy talking about, dude? I'm not, I'm not getting rich. I'm getting poor.
yeah,
And I'm like, started looking in. I'm like, and but everybody would clap and agree, you know,
yeah,
and but when I get my card in the mail from my representative, it's all great,
yeah.
but I'm like, it's not. And
But that's
they're
why I always push.
usurping,
Whenever
yeah,
I see them in person, you always got to push the, like, like other people will sit there and they'll be like, oh, and then everybody will clap. But that's why as soon as like, I hear an issue and everybody's clapping, and I know something. I'm like, I gotta ask this person a question, even though, and then people look at you like, why would you ask that question? And it's like because it's an important question, and like they're literally doing the opposite of what
Right.
they're preaching to me in my face.
But nobody has time. I mean, they do. They just don't make time, to read the bills, to see what's being passed. I mean, like I said, I was telling you, like, how many, you know, like 700 bills just this year, from both houses. I'm like, how is the citizen supposed to keep up with that crap? And guarantee you, I know none of my reps ever tell you what's going on. It's
Yeah.
always maybe after the fact or maybe not at all, typically. I did my 2026, whatever you want to call it, how's your household doing, you know, and then ask a bunch of stupid questions about, what should Indiana focus on? These stupid, I mean, stuff that
Oh,
whatever they're
like the
going to do, whatever.
surveys and stuff.
Yeah, and then at the end you can put a lengthy comment in there, and I put one lengthy. I mean, that was 2 months ago, and I have not received anything back from my representative. I mean, just but
Mm,
they
I
and
hate
I'm
the
like, I know I
surveys.
put more than 99% of the people who, probably did the survey, and I should be the one person that they're talking to, but they're not. I mean, and because they don't
Well,
care,
well, yeah.
and
And then the questions, like so. I've taken a few surveys, and like I don't do them anymore because it doesn't make like a lot of them don't like they ask questions, but it's the way they phrase the question. Like it almost never is phrased in a way that I can give my honest answer, or it's
right,
always in a positive
right.
manner in one and then negative like towards the way that they want. It's just a weird way it's worded, and I
Yeah, and
find
you
myself
yeah, and
like
you can't comment or elaborate on that specific question.
yeah, and it's like it doesn't matter. Like, and then what they do is they use it's the way that you word a survey matters, and then to the results that you get from that survey based off of how you worded it, like you can get that, you can spin that any way that you want. That's a lot of times when
Right,
it's worded like that. I'm like, it does. This isn't going to change anything. Like they don't actually
right.
care. Like they just want to be able to show like, oh, 90% of people said that they were likely, or or that
Right.
India, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Oh, it's so frustrating.
yeah,
But again, I just wish we would hire more or elect more people. That's I get frustrated because the people like us who we should be electing, let's just say, we never get a fair shake because we don't have millions of dollars and to spend on a campaign to flood the airwaves and the newspapers and the radio stations with your campaign promises, blah blah blah.
yeah.
And so and we just get stuck with the same people.
Well, it's also a gateway. Ah, like the system it's designed, and I keep telling people this over and over again. Like you're going through a system that is designed to weed out the ones who won't play ball and allow the ones who will play ball. So that's why very few people who don't play ball all the time make it in, but those who play ball the majority of the time almost always make it in. Like those are the people who they're willing to fund. Like the most constitutional candidates in the Republican Party always get left out
Right.
because it
Yeah,
goes
you're
against
right.
the establishment and what they plan. So like that's why like another. I mean you can't uh, you almost so like another party is almost necessary, and there's enough people that you actually could create another party. Like there's enough. Like I've watched enough Republicans and stuff like those who do make it, but then are kind of like the shunned. Those who don't make it because one they don't have enough money to pay to play, right? But at the same time, the establishment doesn't want those ideas because it does make them look bad. When one Republican does really good and actually does do what Republicans are supposed to do, like Thomas Massey is a good example. It
Yeah.
makes the rest of the party look bad, and they don't need that contrast. So, But there's enough people that could, if they formed a party with and they hold, like, that's what drives me nuts is they hold all the same ideas, and it would be a powerful party, right? Um, but those same people can insist on going through the Republican Party. Oh well, I
Right.
think I can be different. Like how? Like Thomas Massey is different, but he doesn't have the effect that he wishes he had because he doesn't have the other people to stand with him. One person in a party doesn't stop the rest of the party. So like, yeah, you can be standing on principles like the Spartans. You could look like a Spartan, the Republican Spartan, but at the end of the day, Greece is still. I'm not saying that they took Greece and hit, but I'm just saying like what I mean. Like instead of
Yeah.
there's no victory there. It's just you just look good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah. Yep. I agree. 100%. You've got the Massies, which and the Musk, it kind of frustrates me because they do have a good following. And Musk said that he was going to do another party or something like that, and which I don't really think we need another party. We just need
oh, we do.
people.
The
We need to
founders
get
say.
the we have Republicans. I'll use myself as a candidate, right? That want to do the right thing, but don't have I'm not a millionaire, I'm not rich, and but so you got to be able to help those candidates who are going to do the right thing and help them get their feet off the ground, their campaigns off the ground, so they can get some recognition, so people know who they are, because we're creatures of habits. We know I'm going to vote for name recognition. Sadly, but and now I'm on what this person is going to do and work ethic, and but that's what we're missing. And I wish Massey would, because he's got a big following, and he should start a PAC or whatever, a political action committee that helps those kinds of people. I think that would be awesome.
It would be, but it's again like when you're going against like it's like it's so this is what the system is so effective that like we always talk about working within, and I'm not talking about I'm just talking about in general like but let's just say like the republic, like you go in, you try and you change, and then you have different like groups, but
Right.
like
Yes.
and you're like, oh,
You got to get more people to do that, though. You know what I mean? And
but they
if you
don't
could get
want
them
to. Like that's
elected,
the thing is the Republican Party doesn't want that because
yeah,
they want the solidarity to go forward with what they want to go forward with, and not they don't want like not everything they want is constitutional. Not everything they want it you know is in the benefit of the average person. Like that's what's so brilliant about it. And it's I marvel at it because it is. Like I said, we're robots, and we're programmed to like, oh well, I want to make a difference. I'm gonna go into the system like it is, and then I'm gonna go make a difference, and then those people get ground up, or they spend so much time in that process that eventually their influence doesn't matter, like until
right.
they get out and they
Oh, yeah.
never. But that's just it's brilliant in how it's set up. And then anytime you try and pull something like because what really should happen is uh, these people should get like the two party system is like what the founders warned us about. Like we do need more parties. We need more opinions, and not being factionist. It should be based off of the the issues and your constitutional, like protecting the constitutional and freedom. But that's not what
Mm.
we get. But you get a whole bunch of individuals, and what you need is for those individuals to create another party, like the Republicans did, because they were consistent. They were made up of smaller parties that didn't have the power to go up against the Democrat Party, and then they formed, and then that's how they were able to amass enough political power. But we don't look at history and go, oh, well, this is what they had to do. So now we have these two massive control parties, and like the only other like the actual solution is to form a party of the people who are pushed out of those parties, and you could do it in every single state. Like All it takes is one state, and then provide um, the blueprint, and then you could easily start creating more of those parties in other states. And then the next thing you know, you have a federal party, a third federal party that is based off of those principles. And I mean, it'll get so every party has an expiration date, and this is why you don't you commit to a party till it loses its way, and then you discard that party because every party has an expirational date. They're going to co-opt that party at one point or whatever. They're going to get their people in there, and so a party might only last a year or it might last 2 years. But this is why it's so important to leave. You have to be able
Hmm.
to be willing to throw stuff off so that you can, like the phoenix, it rises from the ashes, right? You gotta burn, like, yeah. That's if you want new life, you gotta, sometimes you gotta lay the fertilizer down and plant the seeds, right? So, but we're so stuck in this. We're still trying to make this one tree. When Jesus was walking by and he said, he cursed the tree because it wasn't bearing fruit, right? Um, like sometimes we gotta curse the tree, but we don't want to do that. We're over here still trying to get it to bear fruit, and it's done. Like, in
Yeah.
large part.
Yeah. Yeah, something's got to give. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was complaining about the debt. March 6th or so. I was doing some math the other day. We're getting ready to hit 39 trillion. You know,
Yeah.
what a proud moment. Another. I mean, we're so close to 40. I mean, what are they? I mean, apparently, money does not matter in the federal government anymore.
Yeah.
What I mean? It's like they're just keep spending, keep the keep the gas pedal to the floor. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. They're just apparently money doesn't matter whatsoever to any party or any except for maybe Thomas Massey or I don't know.
Yeah. But they just don't. Like, it's not about. It's about power and control. And
And the public are just like, sure, whatever. It's just another, yeah,
oh,
whatever.
oh yeah,
You
it'll
know,
be over. Like when that's why they're putting up like the cameras and the stingrays, and like the police forces are becoming more uh, militaristic, and then like even our bill where they try to get some of the military. But you're gonna start seeing more of that because they know that eventually like trauma does kick in, and then like so like the way they've done it is like you're not gonna have us like we'll be lucky if we see another 1776 kind of revolt, but like the way things are, it's looking like it's gonna be more of like a French revolution um, deal, where like just a lot of when the people finally get done, like they're just gonna start often.
Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, like it's like because we don't have the morals, like we don't have the biblical foundation anymore. Um, like it's
I
not the
know.
same. But
It's sad. It is sad.
yeah, but I think we kind of went over a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. All right, man. Well, anywho, we'll do this again if you want sometime, and
Yeah.
it's always good talking to you.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Uh, yeah. I mean, I'll message you next week. Um,
Okay.
if you want to come on, you can. If you like, just based off it, if you want to come on, you can. Uh, yeah, because there's still a lot of stuff. Like I want to talk to you about some like religious stuff
From what?
and huh,
From what?
religious stuff
Oh yeah, yeah. We can talk that. Yeah,
and
yeah. I read my Bible almost every night, so
oh yeah,
there's a lot of good stories to talk that we could kind of reference, and that's what's kind of our Constitution kind of gets founded off of some of that stuff.
yeah, like it's set up like the original judges and stuff. Like when they said they rejected God for a king, and God says, "Oh," or and then Samuel's upset, and then God's like, "No, no, they're not rejecting you; they're rejecting me." And
Me.
and he says like, "Tell them if they want a king, like he's gonna take the best of their sons and daughters, the best of their crops, and all this stuff." And they're like, "We still want a king," and that's like it just resonates now because people with the president and the way the government
Right.
is, like you're telling them, you're warning them, like, hey, if you let them do this, the other side will do it too. Like you're creating a government monster, and they're like, we're still gonna support the guy when he does this stuff, and we'll push for these powers and stuff. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
All
Let's
right,
see.
but
Yeah.
and then I also want to do one on like your favorite parts of the Indiana Constitution, like top five uh
Oh
favorite
yeah.
like things that you think matter the most, um, as well. But
Yep.
all
Article
right,
one and Article one and Article two.
Article one, yeah. All right, well, yeah. I started reading too, like I rereading it. I've read it through once, but I'm gonna reread it, so that it's fresh when we actually go through it. So,
Okay. Yeah,
uh,
good. Yeah, and then there's some good stuff from that kind of coincides from the the original Constitution from the federal side, because the state constitutions, obviously, 13 colonies had their constitutions long before we had the federal constitution. So
yep,
yeah,
actually,
and how
true.
they kind of they're all they all go hand in hand. It's just the story is so great. We just again, like you said, man, we're just not the education system in the United States is so poor now. This is the stuff that they should be teaching kids in school. And I was never taught it. I just now, take a very good interest in it. And I've been studying it for over 2 years. And,
Yeah, we're
um,
well educated
just,
on the wrongs of the United States, but we're not as well
right,
educated on the rights and
right.
the system we
Yeah,
actually like, the
yep,
reality of what we live in.
yep,
So, and we're
yep,
better educated on other people's systems or the systems they
right.
think are fair, right? But
Yeah,
without the contrast of like, well, is it more fair than what we have? You got to know what we have first before you can make that decision. So,
absolutely.
so
Yep.
yeah.
All right, man. We'll catch you on the flop.
Yep. Take it easy.
All right. See you, man. I'm
See
going
ya.
to go make them pancakes and bacon. See ya.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. Do do. Well, guys, that was a good one. Y'all take it easy. Shalom. I might make another live later, about some religious stuff, but take it easy. And